Hello, my name is Dr. Ari All, and I am a psychiatrist in Boulder, Colorado. Today we are going to be talking about how AI is going to revolutionize medicine and mental health. There's been a lot of talk about the new Chat CPT app, which has taken the world by storm, got something like 1 million users in 5 days, which is unheard of. This is a simple chat bot that you can interact with. It can write stories, it can write books, it can write code, it can improve code, which is pretty cool and kind of ominous. But this has started a conversation about how AI is going to affect medicine and mental health. There's a lot of doctors that I talk to that have this view that, well, AI is going to affect pretty much every other field, but it's not going to affect medicine because doctors are special and there's something about being a doctor that a computer can't replicate. I honestly think that that is bullshit. AI is unique in that it affects white collar jobs more than blue collar jobs. So we went through about 200 years of automation and industrial revolution where blue collar jobs were constantly changing. But AI is interesting because it can replicate accounting, it can replicate SEO, and I think eventually it will be able to replicate medicine. What is AI? My layman understanding of AI, but I have talked to several scientists about this, is it is essentially looking at millions, billions, or trillions of data points and trying to find patterns within those data points. So it's not conscious like Skynet, but it is very powerful. There's already examples of how AI is affecting medicine. I think most clearly in radiology. So radiology is the study of MRIs, CAT scans, ultrasounds, x-rays, basically any image of a body, of the inside of a body. As you can imagine, because this is picture oriented, it's pretty easy for a computer to go through millions and millions of pictures and be able to diagnose about as good as a doctor can. This has caused some backlash in the radiology community because they, don't necessarily want their job replaced, and also they want patients to be safe. I think there is a genuine part of that. But the way it works now is that the radiologists work hand in hand with the AI. And this brings up an interesting point. When I was in medical school, one of our professors asked us, what exactly makes a doctor? What makes you a doctor? And people gave different examples, like you have to have gone through medical school, you have to have gone through residency, you have to have passion. And he said, no, it's actually none of those things. What makes you a doctor is your medical license. Without your medical license, you cannot diagnose or treat or prescribe. And so even though these AI radiology bots have gotten very, very good, they don't have a medical license, and therefore they are not actually treating the patient. It's the radiologist treating the patient. We'll get into more of that later about why that's important. Another example of AI in medicine, they created a bot that could go through billions and billions of foldings of proteins and molecules and found 3 candidates for a super antibiotic, which eventually turned into one candidate that they actually produced. They were able to find this antibiotic about 1,000 times faster than researchers could alone. In mental health, there's a couple AI programs that have already started to revolutionize our field. For instance, there's a variety of chatbots that can teach patients CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. So just by talking with this little app on your phone, it actually has been proven to decrease anxiety and depression. There's also an AI bot that IBM made that was able to listen to people's voices and predict a psychotic break 2 years ahead of time. So pretty amazing. How exactly is AI going to affect medicine and mental health going forward? Well, I think that there's 5 different categories that it's going to revolutionize. Number 1 is diagnosis and treatment. If you are able to look at billions of data points, billions of different cases, of course, you are eventually going to have a bot that is just way better at diagnosis and treatment than a regular doctor. And with all the pushback against AI, the question I would pose is, if you have an AI program that can diagnose you and treat you better than a regular doctor, don't you kind of want that? Isn't that a good thing for patients? Secondly, it's going to affect patient safety. So it's going to be able to go through all of these data points on what made the difference in someone's case, and little things like, okay, did they get a saline flush versus just not having their IV flushed? And they're going to be able to find things that we just wouldn't think of and that we would probably never look at much, much quicker than humans. So if you go back in time, let's say 100 years to William Halsted, he was the father of modern surgery, and he made all of his residents wash their hands because he knew that for some reason, when you wash your hands, people tend to get sick less. Everyone thought he was crazy. Now we have to wash our hands and do a lot more other stuff before we scrub in for a surgery. So he was right. But it took a long, long time for people to be able to figure that out and figure out that washing your hands worked. If you have an AI program that can look at all these little things that doctors are doing, we're going to be able to find the next, hand washing much, much quicker. Third is administrative costs. So most people do not know this, but one of the reasons why medicine is so expensive in the US is because we have the highest administrative costs of basically anywhere in the world. That includes hospitals talking to insurance companies, people trying to send things from their electronic records to another doctor's electronic records. There's a lot of bureaucracy that goes into medicine. And I think that AI is going to cut a lot of that out. It's going to allow for different companies, different hospitals to be able to communicate and get bureaucratic tasks done much, much quicker. Fourth is drug development. So we talked a little bit about this with the antibiotic that they were able to make. That is just the beginning. Soon we will have antipsychotics, antidepressants, blood clotting medications, anti-cancer medications, anything that you can think of, we're going to start getting it much, much quicker. But again, because of the laws and the regulations that we have in place, it's still going to have to go through a pharmaceutical company, and it's still going to take a long time. But the actual research and development part is going to be thousands of times quicker than we are able to do it now. Fifth is skills teaching. So imagine that you are a young doctor or a medical student, and you have a mentor or a tutor that can look at what you're doing. Let's say you're trying to intubate somebody, which is putting in an artificial airway. They can look at what you're doing and then tell you how to do it better in a way that you would never think of. I think that AI is going to massively increase the ability for us to teach young doctors, young pharmacists, young nurses, different skills that they are going to need in the hospital. What are some of the downsides of AI? Well, there's the obvious downside that it might get the diagnosis or treatment wrong, right? And it's going to feel very, I think, jarring and uncaring when you get the wrong medication and it was due to this massive billion-dollar AI and you can't even talk to a person about what happened. I think there's another issue that's also going to come up. So during the Industrial Revolution, we were able to make scientific methods and methods of manufacturing that were so advanced that the average person was not able to understand them. Or they were able to understand them, but it took time to understand them, so just fields got a lot more specialized. I think as AI improves, it's going to be this black box where we just put in some data, it spits out a diagnosis, it spits out a treatment plan, and we don't even know why it's choosing that diagnosis and that treatment plan. We just know that it's correct. I think people are going to be somewhat untrusting of that. And because there's such a wide depth between what an average person understands and what the AI is doing, it may cause a backlash against medicine. There's also a chance that the AI will be programmed to be overly pessimistic, in the same way when you type in something on WebMD, it says, oh, you might have cancer. And you're like, pretty sure I don't have cancer. I have a stubbed toe, but it says cancer for liability purposes. If you have a huge AI company, they're going to not want to be liable for wrong diagnosis or treatment. So they might be more pessimistic, and that might lead to bad outcomes where someone thinks that they have something like cancer or leukemia when in reality they don't. Despite the bad things that could happen, I think that doctors are a little bit overly pessimistic about what AI can do. Again, if you have a program that can get you a better treatment immediately and it diagnosed you immediately and it's 100% accurate, you're going to want that rather than the real doctor. And in mental health, eventually we're going to have these deepfake therapists that are just miles above what any therapist now can do. There will always be a market for people who want to talk to someone in person, but you may want the AI therapist because it feels like they understand you better than a human. So, in the medium term, I think it's going to be doctors working with AI because of the regulations. However, in the long term, let's say 100 years from now, I think it's going to be almost all AI, and you'll have doctors, maybe listening to someone's lungs and then telling the AI bot, okay, this is what I heard, or they'll have them translating what the AI is saying to the patient, but it's going to be overwhelmingly controlled by AI. I hope you found this video valuable and interesting. If you have any research on the topic, please comment below. I love reading that. Please subscribe or don't, and it's been great talking to you.